Did we get to, we passed out your outline already, didn't we? Okay. You're up.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Do we have any football fans in the audience today? I'm sure that if I'd ask each one of you who your favorite football team is, I'd get a variety of different responses. Personally, I'm a San Francisco 49ers fan. However, I'm not here to talk about the red and gold today. Instead, I'm here to talk about who the most valuable player of the National Football is going to be this year. There have been some impressive numbers put up thus far across the league this year. Peyton Manning is still Peyton Manning-like, as he currently has the best passer rating in the NFL. And the Denver Broncos are currently #1 in the AFC, of course. However, there's a lesser-known name out there, DeMarco Murray from the Dallas Cowboys, who have also been putting up some pretty big numbers. So my proposition to you is that DeMarco Murray of the Dallas Cowboys will win the National Football League's most valuable player this year. Over the course of this speech, I'll demonstrate that DeMarco Murray will have the most impressive statistics this year, and that the Dallas Cowboys will be serious Super Bowl contenders come January. Which leads me to my first point, that DeMarco Murray will put up the most impressive statistics this year. He currently has 913 yards rushing, 298 yards more than anyone else. DeMarco Murray has ran for 100 yards more or more in each of his first 7 games, which broke the record held by Jim Brown, who ran for 100 yards in his first 6 games back in 1958. To put that in perspective, LaShawn McCoy of the Philadelphia Eagles he led the league in 100-yard rushing games last season with seven total games with 100 yards or more rushing. So DeMarco Murray has already done that in his first 7 games this year. So DeMarco Murray is currently averaging 130 yards rushing this season. That puts him on pace for 2,000 yards rushing, which has only been done 7 times in the history of the NFL. He also leads the league in rushing touchdowns with 7 touchdowns so far this season. Looking back at the last running back to win the Most Valuable Player award, Adrian Peterson of the Minnesota Vikings in 2012, you can see that DeMarco Murray has similar numbers this season. In 2012, Adrian Peterson conjured up 2,097 yards rushing and scored 12 rushing touchdowns that year. If DeMarco Murray continues at his current pace, he will rush for 2,087 yards and 16 rushing touchdowns. Looking at this year's potential MVP candidates, you cannot ignore Peyton Manning. He has won the Most Valuable Player award more than anyone else, 5 times over the course of his career. Many consider him to be the best quarterback in football today, and there's an excellent case to be said from being the greatest quarterback of all time. Let's see, his quarterback rating this year is at 119 thus far, which leads the NFL. And as I stated previously, the Denver Broncos currently have the best record in the AFC. So if anyone could stack up against DeMarco Murray for the Most Valuable Player award, it would be Peyton Manning. However, when you look at the remaining schedule for the Cowboys and the Broncos, you'll see that the Denver Broncos have a much tougher road ahead of them. They have 7 teams who have won at least half their games left on their schedule, compared to the Cowboys, who only have 4 teams left that have won at least half of their games thus far. One major concern for DeMarco Murray and his MVP chances is his health. He has yet to play a full NFL season in his early career. It is imperative that he stays healthy to continue the type of season that he is having. DeMarco Murray has already carried the rock 187 times this year. That's 61 times more than any other running back. This is on pace to shatter Larry Johnson's record of 416 attempts set back in 2006. Many would argue that carrying the ball so many times would be detrimental to his ability to fight off injury. However, on October 21st, 2014, sports injury expert Dr. David Chow, with 17 years NFL sideline experience, talked on the Jason Smith Show about DeMarco Murray's chances of staying healthy over the course of the season. He stated, "DeMarco Murray has a reasonable chance to make it. When explaining further, he adds, the traditional problem with running backs getting a lot of the load isn't necessarily in one season. It's over the multiple seasons not being able to carry the load. So he has a reasonable chance to make it. A prime example of a running back who overcame injuries is Adrian Peterson, who led the league in rushing in 2012 after being injured in the previous year, 2011, and had to undergo knee surgery. DeMarco Murray's ability to stay healthy will certainly play a key role in the Dallas Cowboys' chances of being successful this season. Which leads me to my second point. The Dallas Cowboys will be a serious Super Bowl contender this year. The Cowboys' last playoff appearance was back in 2009, and over the last 3 seasons, the Cowboys posted an 8-8 record, just barely missing the playoffs each of those seasons. This year, however, the Cowboys are playing much better on both sides of the ball. The Cowboys are currently ranked 3rd in total offense with 402 yards per game. This is a huge improvement from their 16th ranked offense last season. And the Cowboys' defense, which was ranked dead last in the NFL last season, has also improved dramatically. It's currently ranked 14th in the NFL, giving up just 343 yards per game. These improvements have led the Cowboys to owning the best record after Week 7 in the NFL. And after losing to the San Francisco 49ers to open the season, the Dallas Cowboys went on to win their next 6 games, one of which was to the defending Super Bowl champion Seahawks in Seattle, which is no easy task. Looking at the remaining schedule, the Dallas Cowboys only have 4 of their 9 games remaining against teams who have won half their games. Having the best record in the league and a soft remaining schedule, it would be a monumental collapse if the Dallas Cowboys fail to get into the playoffs this year. In conclusion, you can see that it makes a great case for DeMarco Murray winning the Most Valuable Player award this season. If at the beginning of the season anyone would have stated that DeMarco Murray would have a chance at the MVP, most people wouldn't have taken that statement very seriously. However, we cannot ignore his record-breaking start to the season. DeMarco Murray is clearly an early frontrunner for the Most Valuable Player candidacy, and until it's demonstrated otherwise, it should be expected that his season will continue. Thank you.
All right, Nick, a nice attention device. You've got a clear statement of the proposition. The contents are spelled out at the beginning. On the relevance on the second point needs to be strengthened a little bit. Also, it felt in the body of the speech like your second point took a long time to arrive. There was a lot of time spent on that first point. So it may make sense to maybe have that first point broken into 2 parts and have a second claim talking about the injury issues. I think that that's probably the big reservation argument that you're dealing with there, and so maybe putting that in as a separate secondary claim, and then that third claim doesn't seem as noticeable as being distinct that way. I think that would probably make it a little bit better. But there's excellent evidence in the argument. You've got plenty of examples and statistics, obviously. I do think that you want to give us a source citation on those statistics. I assume that it's, the NFL.com or ESPN or some source like that. It doesn't sound like it's going to be that hard. The one authority that you cited, I thought that was pretty effective. The doctor who's talking about what the odds are on injuries, I think that helps make the argument, like I said, on that second point, or what could be a second point, pretty effectively. And the comparison to other players, though, I think needs to include anybody else that might be mentioned. You just mentioned Peyton Manning. He's the main competitor. That makes a lot of sense. I'm sure that there are a couple of receivers out there that would deserve to be mentioned also. And although the quarterbacks don't seem to be lining up to get that prize anymore as much as Peyton Manning is, you never know, especially like you talked about, the record in the second half of the season depends on who they get to play. And, Tom Brady, he's a good-looking guy, and you know what? People like him. And he's having a much better season, especially if there's a turnaround from that horrible game that he had earlier in the season. So, but I thought that you made a pretty strong case for DeMarco Murray. All right, thank you.